him about, what should I do with this? And he's like, you got to go talk to your coach. I'm not your coach. And he was very much he would encourage me to do that. But he was like, I'm not having that conversation for you. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm not in your practices every day. You need to go talk to your coach. So he was a really good sounding board in that way.
That's amazing because I've heard Gino say the same thing. His kids come to him and stuff like that, and as prominent as your dad is, and as Gino is, and they're like, you know, help me, help me, help me, and they're like, no, that's your decision that you wanted to play here. This is your journey, so you got to
Mhm.
really figure it out yourself. And how do you think that shaped you?
Well, I definitely talk about that now a lot as a coach, but I'll never forget the first time I had asked my coach to go talk about something that had, something that I don't even remember what it was now, but I was so scared. We met at a Starbucks, and I remember being so nervous to go have to kind of, fend for myself. It's an intimidating setting because you're talking about, whether it's playing time or role or whatever it may be. And now I'm so thankful that he made me do that because I can kind of impart that on our women as well of the importance of speaking your truth and being confident, and then also realizing that you may not also hear what you want to hear in return. You can go and vouch for yourself and put yourself out there, but there's also reasons why coaches make decisions that they do. And I think that dialogue is important, but you might not always get what you want either out of it.
Right.
So that shaped me a lot in now how I talk with our women of like my door is always open. I don't talk to parents about playing time. I will talk to any parent about well-being, academics, things
Mhm.
like that. But when it comes to playing time, like teach your daughter to come and have that conversation or basketball related because it's going to be good for them as an adult and learning to have those conversations and that dialogue.
Well, that was tough right there. I like that. I like
Oh my
that.
God, Mia.
Yeah, and when you take a pic, I like the way you pose a special way. Can deal with petty shit, I never let drama get in the way. And you can deal with none of your problems, cause you rather run away. It hurts the most when your family tend to be your biggest pain.
Welcome back to another episode of Fast Break Focus. Our background is now done. It is now complete, long horned out. But today we have a really, really special guest coming on. She's the head coach of Fairfield University basketball. She took over that job in 2022. She's led the Stags to a historic back-to-back MAAC titles and even earned a spot in the top 25 with experience with programs like Florida State, Mississippi State, Minnesota. She's built a reputation as a strong recruiter, development of talent, and a leader who's changing the game. Please welcome Coach Carley Thibault-DuDonis. How,
Thanks so much for having me.
how's that? How was that for you?
It was good. It was good. Thanks for having me on.
You're more than welcome. So the first thing I really like to get into is take us through the start of basketball. Where did your love for basketball start?
So my dad is a coach, has been around basketball and coaching basketball my entire life. I think I actually did a college essay on my life in the four quarters of basketball because I think literally in the womb, like it was decided when I was being born based on my dad going to NBA summer league. So it's kind of been something that's always been a part of my life, and never was forced on me to be a coach or to play, but loved the game and really grew as I got into high school and getting ready to go play in college. So pretty early on, I knew I wanted to stay around the game and probably coach, but you don't know necessarily as a high schooler always. But I worked for my dad's teams when he was in the WNBA. I was an equipment manager. I was a ball kid even earlier than that, and loved being around the team. Loved being at practices. I ran the clock. I rebounded whatever was needed. They threw me in. So I knew early on, and then played 4 years of college basketball, and it was a pretty natural kind of transition for me to get into coaching.
Right. So was you playing early or was it more just staying around the game?
So I played basketball as long as I can remember. And so it was definitely, part of it just playing it. But then with my dad's WNBA teams, I got to learn all different aspects and how an organization was ran from the behind the scenes. I got to be a part of coaches' meetings. I got to listen in. I got to watch my dad watch film. Like I said, I rebounded. I did the laundry. I prepped for games. I prepped the locker room. I kind of did all different aspects of it. And so I kind of got to see a lot of times, former players who coach don't necessarily know what goes on behind the scenes. And I did, and I loved that part of it.
Right. So I read that 11 is when your dad became the coach of the Sun. He
Hmm.
became the head coach. Now, and I read also that was your first time really seeing because he was a men's coach before, and that was the first
Yep.
time being around elite athletes that are women.
Yes.
What was that like? Just walking in as an 11-year-old and oh crap, these women are big, they're good at basketball, and this is time. Is that shape where you wanted to be today?
Certainly. So when my dad was coaching prior to the WNBA, he was in the NBA with the Milwaukee Bucks, and
Hmm.
so I played basketball, but I was a gymnast. I played soccer. I was definitely at that point probably on more of the college gymnast track, and I loved it, and I still really enjoyed those years of my life. But when we moved to Connecticut, it was the first time that I had seen high level female athletes, and realized kind of what that path looked like. And quite frankly, in Connecticut, women's college basketball was a really big deal. And
What
so
was
I
it?
was around it in a lot of different ways. And I saw the fan support there was for it. And then I think even one step further was the first time I'd also seen ever a female coach. I'd always been coached by men to that point. And so it was the first time I'd ever seen Bernadette Maddox was on my dad's staff. It was the first time not only her, but then all the other coaches in the WNBA, just all these female role models. And it truly is that statement of like, if you can see her, you can be her. And I don't think in that moment I was like, oh, now I see I can coach, but you just see what the possibility is and you're around high performing athletes, and what it took for them to be great at what they're doing and then staying before and after practice and getting extra lift in or whatever it may be. You kind of saw that body of work. That was the first time I'd ever seen that, on the basketball side, on the women's side in particular.
Were the players really embracing of you?
They were. They were. I can point to a bunch, but a couple stories I'll give. So Brooke Wyckoff was my first ever job at Florida State as the director of recruiting.
Hmm.
She was the recruiting coordinator there as the assistant coach then at the time for Sue Semrau. But she was on my dad's team that very first year. And so I remember I was, like I said, I think I was 12 at the time. She would take me to go get pedicures and I'd go sit with her on the bus on road trips and things like that. And so she was always so gracious with me. And then a year later, Lindsay Whalen joined the team. She was drafted in 2004,
Hmm.
and she was like a big sister that I never had. I joke that I think she was my dad's favorite daughter because she could, give levels and I couldn't. Um, but she was at the house all the time. She would come to my brother and I's high school games. I think I have like homecoming pictures with her at one point in like my homecoming dress. And so just again, it was very family oriented. The game always has been for me, but there was some women that really took a special interest in making me feel like I was a part of it.
We're gonna get into because I do have some notes about your full circle because it seems like your entire coaching journey has been completely full circle.
Mhm.
But just to dive forward, so high school, you go to East Lyme High School, is that how you say it?
East Lyme.
East Lyme High School in Connecticut, and what was basketball like during that time? Because, like you said, UConn's there, the Sun is there, and so what was that? What was basketball like in Connecticut?
Yeah, I mean, that was the first time I'd played AAU basketball. I think now you start playing AAU in like as like a
Yeah,
seven-year old.
yeah.
So I started playing going into my eighth grade year, and that was the first time I'd seen really high level like competition on women's basketball. We traveled to nationals in Tennessee, and I played against point guards that were 6, 7 inches taller than me, and so it was really eye-opening, that I had a lot of work to do, and I was far and away not the best player on my own team, let alone on the national level. And so that for me was huge for my work ethic and realizing how much I had to really work on my craft. And then high school was so much fun. I got to play with some of my best friends to this day. We had a group that had stayed together, freshman through senior year, that are still some of my best friends. But the competition was great there too. And the landscape of high school basketball has changed a little bit in Connecticut and in New England as a whole, where there's a lot of prep
Hmm.
school, and there's some great prep schools and really great competition. But public school ball is not as common. And when I was playing, there was our league alone in public school ball, there was like 15 of us that went, D1 or D2 to play
Hmm.
college basketball. High level that went to, UConn and Kentucky and a bunch of, mid majors in the area, including myself. So there was some really high level competition. So again, you were just challenged at every turn. And again, I go back to it really formed love of doing it with people that you care about and people that you love because we had some awesome times. My high school coach was just at our practice a couple of weeks ago, and it's really about the people.
Full circle. See how it comes back. But as a New Englander myself, I know this background's misleading. I'm not from Texas. I'm a
I know,
New
I was about to
Englander.
say it's not giving New England behind you.
I'm originally from Boston, but so and when you say that New England has a lot of talent that was overlooked at that time, it was completely overlooked. There was so much talent coming through New England, and just to move that forward, you was a 3-point specialist in high school and stuff like that. What was your recruiting process like, and how did you end up where you ended up?
Yeah, I did not have the same recruiting process as a lot of the kids that we now recruit who have, 20, 30 offers.
Hmm.
Um, I, I was someone that was very small. I look back now and I'm like, I don't know that I would have recruited me because I was small, probably not and I know I wasn't the most athletic, but I could shoot the ball. I was scrappy. And my first ever offer was Coastal Carolina. And I thought for sure I was going to Coastal Carolina. I loved it. I went down and I went for an official visit and I realized, kind of the when that wasn't my perfect fit. And I actually did an unofficial to Monmouth. I did some unofficial some other places, but I did an unofficial visit to Monmouth and just I knew it. I knew it the first 2 hours I was on campus. Coach was my coach. I was the coach there at the time. And she just was competitive, energetic. There was an energy around building the program. She'd always been successful wherever she'd been. So I really felt strongly to there. So I kind of had to convince her to give me a scholarship.
I need that
And
story. I need that story.
yeah, no, she had already had a pretty deep class at that point. I think she was only in year one going into year two. I think we were year two of her tenure at Monmouth.
Mhm.
So prior to me, she'd already, I think, had like 5 or 6 commitments. And she's like, I don't know if I can take another one in your class. And I remember being really, really bummed. And I was like, man, but that's where I want to go. And my dad was like, well, call her and tell her like that you want to be there and sell yourself. And I was like, how do I do, I'm a 16-year-old or 17-year-old. I'm like, how do you do that? And so I called her back and she tells this story still to this day as well. But I was like, look, you might find bigger than me, you might find better than me, but you won't find anybody that wants to be at Monmouth as much as I do, that wants to play for you, that's gonna ride for you, or however I said it. And she gave me a scholarship. So the rest
I
is
know that's
history.
right. So,
Yeah.
you spoke on your dad a little bit, as far as, helping you get that scholarship in a way. But how was he growing up as far as was he tough on you in basketball? Did he let you do your thing in basketball? Was it, a little bit in between? Did he get involved? Because like you said, AAU, it's different than when we were growing up and stuff like that. And a lot of parents are involved nowadays.
Yeah.
They're, super dads and moms out there now. So how was your dad growing up?
Yeah, I mean, he never pushed me into basketball. He was very supportive of me being a gymnast and as a soccer player. But our rule that we kind of came up with as I got more and more serious with basketball is that if I wanted to work out, if I wanted feedback, I had to ask. He wasn't going to volunteer. He wasn't going to push me. He wasn't going to make me do it. And knew I wouldn't love it if he did. And so it was on me to ask him to go work out. And then there was times that, when we go work out, we'd come back fuming at each other because I was stubborn and he's stubborn. And I look back and I probably should have listened to him more than I did as a stubborn, like I said, 16 or 17-year-old. But it was a special time and a special relationship for us that we could go to the gym together, that we could get up in the morning and work out before school. I could go to his practices and work out after practice with him or whatever. It was just a really, really cool dynamic. He was not a helicopter parent in that way. He
Mhm.
tried to stay pretty hands off, like I said, unless I asked. And even when I was in college, if call and ask him about, what should I do with this? And he's like, you got to go talk to your coach. I'm not your coach. And he was very much he would encourage me to do that. But he was like, I'm not having that conversation for you. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm not in your practices every day. You need to go talk to your coach. So he was a really good sounding board in that way.
That's amazing because I've heard Gino say the same thing. His kids come to him and stuff like that, and as prominent as your dad is, and as Gino is, and they're like, you know, help me, help me, help me, and they're like, no, that's your decision that you wanted to play here. This is your journey, so you got to
Mhm.
really figure it out yourself. And how do you think that shaped you?
Well, I definitely talk about that now a lot as a coach, but I'll never forget the first time. I had asked my coach to go talk about something that had, something that I don't even remember what it was now, but I was so scared. We met at a Starbucks, and I remember being so nervous to go have to kind of, fend for myself. It's an intimidating setting because you're talking about, whether it's playing time or role or whatever it may be. And I'm so thankful that he made me do that because I can kind of impart that on our women as well, the importance of speaking your truth and being confident, and then also realizing that you may not also hear what you want to hear in return. You can go and vouch for yourself and put yourself out there, but there's also reasons why coaches make decisions that they do. And I think that dialogue is important, but you might not always get what you want either out of it.
Right.
So that shaped me a lot in now how I talk with our women of like my door is always open. I don't talk to parents about playing time. I will talk to any parent about well-being, academics, things
Mhm.
like that. But when it comes to playing time, like teach your daughter to come and have that conversation or basketball related because it's going to be good for them as an adult in learning to have those conversations and that dialogue.
Well, that was tough right there. I like that. I like that. So just moving on a little bit to your college career. You was all NEC, third team. You was you shot 40%, you shot 44% your junior senior years respectively. And but that's not really what I want to talk about because you were
Oh, you don't
valedictorian.
want to talk about me as a shooter? That's
No,
the
no,
best.
no, no, no. Because I found that you was a valedictorian. You was a scholar athlete of the year. You was a double major. You majored in psychology. What was about education that was so important for you?
It's funny. As much as I think I was a little bit, nerdy, I just really have learned to live my life, and I credit my parents with this. For lack of a better term, and I apologize my language, but not doing anything half-assed. And anything I was gonna do it to the best of my ability and put as much time and effort as needed to do it right. And sometimes that meant you slept less. Sometimes that meant you stayed in the gym longer. I don't think I'm, to be honest, like great at anything. I worked really hard to be a good shooter. I put a lot of time in to do that. I had great coaches that worked with me on that. Were willing to stay after and shoot and rebound and help and critique. Um, but I don't believe in having regrets about, oh, I could have done more. I'd done more time here. I could have spent more time on this. I could have studied this more, memorized. I didn't believe in that. And so I tried to live that every day, that if I could study more, I was going to. If didn't know the material yet, I was going to stay up as long as it required to learn the material. And so I think that's kind of where that came from. And then the psychology piece of that is I knew I wanted to coach. A little bit of how I ended up at Florida State as I wanted to do sports psychology as my master's because I knew that would help me in
Hmm.
coaching and give me a really good foundation for coaching. And so Florida State was one of the schools at the time. It was a fairly new field. What was that, 14 years ago now?
Hmm.
And they were one of the schools that had that. And so that was one of the places that I'd reached out to. So that's kind of where I really poured into I think I was a double major. Or I was a double minor, excuse me. I was psychology with a double minor in health and Spanish, but the
Hmm.
health piece was really important at the time because a lot of the sports psychology masters were housed in kinesiology. So you
Right.
had to have some of those prereqs.
I know that's right. And I may have said double major earlier. I'm sorry. I've been double
Yeah, no,
minor.
you're
I done.
good. I
I
actually
got.
started to question myself. I was like, did I double major? A long time
So,
ago now.
so just touch on your 3-point shooter because you did bring it up that you wanted to talk about a little bit. I know you said that you put up the extra shots and everything, but was that something that you really honed in on? Was that like, if I want to stay on the court, 3-point is something I got to give. And when you were shooting back then, shooting wasn't what it is now. So speak on that, just like being a 3-point shooter.
Yeah. That's something that I knew I had to bring to the table to be effective for my team. Like I said, I wasn't the fastest. I wasn't the best defender. I had to find creative ways to be effective, especially when you're playing bigger, faster, stronger. Like what worked in high school didn't work in college. And so I knew that was a path for me. And to be honest, I didn't shoot it very well my freshman year or really partway through my sophomore year. And I got better as I went along because I think I had to adjust to the pace of getting your shot off, the length of people contesting you. Um, and so I had to learn of how I think that first year, that freshman year, and this is really a shout to anybody going into college, is you have to learn to manage your time of, okay, when I'm going all out and studying and I'm going to not be, um, you know, half-assing anything I'm doing in the classroom. But then where is my time to get extra shots and where is my time to work on my conditioning? Where is my time to get quicker? And that's a really hard balance. And so I think my learning curve was that freshman year. And then I kind of found my stride and found my routines and what worked for me from a shooting perspective. So yeah, that was my bread and butter. I knew I had to, and I got better at other things as I went along. But if I wasn't making shots, I'm like, I'm hurting my team. That's what I can do to help us every day.
Right. And so just to move on just a little bit because you get through the college, your playing career. What was your decision? What was your ultimate decision really for like, you know what? I want to do something different. And you didn't go right into coaching. You went into the director of recruiting.
Yeah.
Where did that start at?
Yeah. So I mean, like I said, I knew I wanted to coach pretty early on. And so when I was looking at schools that had a master's in sports psychology, I think I reached out to maybe a dozen schools, got a bunch of no's, got a bunch of, hey, we don't have a graduate assistant spot available. And so I asked, I reached out about those kind of the next natural progression of being a GA. And Florida State reached back. And like I said, I knew Brooke on the staff.
Hmm.
Sue Semrau was the head coach. But they reached back and said, hey, we don't have a GA position, but we are going to have our director of recruiting spot available if that's of interest to you. And so I met with them. I think I Zoomed with them. I think at the time it was actually a Skype. I think I Skyped with them. I don't know if Zoom was a thing yet. Skyped with them and then met with Brooke and Sue at the Final Four that year and eventually ended up taking that job. And it was great because while I wasn't getting my master's in sports psychology, I was learning the ins and outs of recruiting, which is essential to become an assistant coach. You have to be able to recruit. And so I really got to see a very, very high level of recruiting and how they were so successful there at Florida State and what really it takes to be organized, to be effective, to communicate consistently and appropriately with recruits and parents and coaches and AAU coaches, all these people surrounding the recruit. So I got invaluable experience there.
That definitely helped shape you, didn't it?
Mhm.
Yeah.
It did. And again, I'm going to go back to the people. Sue was the best I've ever seen at student athlete experience, student athlete relationships, understanding the necessity for it to be about their 4 year experience and helping them grow up as young women. So I'm so thankful that that was my foundation in coaching.
Right. So then you get an opportunity at Eastern Michigan to be an assistant coach. How did that come about, and what was your ultimate decision to like, you know what? I love what I'm doing here at Florida State,
Yeah.
but this coaching thing is calling. And before you answer that too, how supportive it has was your dad in your transition from that side to this side to the director of recruiting, then now coaching, following his footsteps?
Yeah. Well, I'll start with that. He claims that he tried to talk my brother and I out of coaching. I don't really remember that. I don't think he really tried to talk us out that much because he would take us with him to practices, but he just warned us because it is a volatile
Hmm.
business. And he did warn us, and we'd seen him, have to change staffs and staffs get fired, and it happens. And so, he's basically like you're not a coach until you get fired at some point. So there was warning signs, of course, but
Hmm.
he's always very supportive. And then yeah, I could have stayed at Florida State for forever. I loved the people. I loved where we lived. I thought, we were able to win. Um,
Florida
but I
to Michigan, boy, I tell you.
but I did, that was the one thing is they're now expanding how many coaching roles you can have on a
Hmm.
staff. Time you could only have the head coach and three assistants on the court. I got to be on the court for a very brief amount of time when Brooke had her daughter Avery. She was out on maternity leave, so I got to be on kind of the interim to be on the court a little bit at that time. But it wasn't I missed that side of it. I loved being a player. I loved all things that came with competing. And as the director of recruiting, I was limited of how much I could do any of that. So I could have stayed there if I, also could have been on the court, but I got offered an assistant job at Eastern Michigan. I knew the head coach there at the time, Tori Verdi. He had actually been a volunteer assistant for my dad in the WNBA for a few years, and so I went up and did a very full interview process with him. It was, full day. I met the team. I had time alone with the team to chat with them. I performed a workout. I did a scout, like the whole thing. Because I was, at the time I think I was 22, going on
Hmm.
23. So, it's a big task to make sure that I'm ready for that. And so I ended up accepting that job and then was there for the next 2 years.
And you, boy, was you there and doing good things. You led, well, at one point, you guys led the nation in points, rebounds, and 3-point shooting. Um, so then you move on to Mississippi State. What was the decision then to, okay, now we're doing well here, and then now it's on to bigger, better things in the SEC.
Yeah.
Where'd that come from?
Yeah, well, so Coach Verdi actually at Eastern Michigan took the job at UMass,
Hmm.
and I had talked with him about going with him, but I wasn't sure. My husband at the time, now at the time, and we
Hmm.
were engaged, and he was a coach. We met. He was at Buffalo while I was at Eastern Michigan. He ended up moving to Michigan, and I knew just going to UMass it was going to be hard for both of us to find coaching jobs in that area. It's not it's not in Boston. It's not close to a bunch of other opportunities. So I kind of kept my options open and I ended up interviewing with Mississippi State. And again, while it was probably going to be hard for Blake to coach because Starkville, Mississippi is similar, it's a little bit remote from other opportunities.
Hmm.
It was such a great opportunity for my career that my wonderful selfless husband was like, you got to take it. So we ended up moving to Starkville for 2 years as well. And thank God, he's multi-talented. I'm not. I'm solely meant to coach because he was able to do some SEC network broadcasting. He did some Blue Star, scouting and recruiting things. So he stayed very much in the game, just kind of in a different capacity. So like I said, thank God he's multi-talented.
So it's funny you say that. Say it like that.
I can only coach. There's nothing else I can do. If I'm not coaching, I'm screwed.
Right. So then you get once again these full circle moments. Lindsay Whalen. She's
Mhm.
now at Minnesota. And I know you just left from up north to go down south, but then when Lindsay Whalen calls, what is that conversation like? And like you said, he's multi-talented. He can pick up and move, so it wasn't that hard of a move for him, I should say. But what was that decision like?
It was hard. It was really hard. We had just gone to back-to-back national championship games at Mississippi
Hmm.
State. You can see the SB behind me. That one's a replica, but we had won the SB the year we beat UConn to go to the national championship. And so we were really really good. And I am so grateful for the time I had with Coach Schaefer because I would not be where I am now. I would not be the coach that I am. But really, when I got there, they were trending up. They'd gone to the Sweet 16 the year before. I got there, and they had really kind of built the foundation at that point. So
Hmm.
I knew kind of the next step in my career was going to be learning to build something from the ground up. If I, as I learned how to manage a program and help someone who Lindsay hadn't coached before and be a part of that, experience for her, I had to think like a head coach, and it was going to get me out of my comfort zone in that way. And while even though Blake at the time, my husband, didn't have and necessarily a coaching role. We knew in the Twin Cities area there was going to be a lot of opportunity for him to get back into coaching. He loved the broadcasting, but he missed kind of the purpose of the that comes with the day-to-day of coaching a team. So we knew it like
But you
kind of
got that
long.
itch. It's hard to get it. It's hard to get it. It's hard to get it
Yeah.
off.
Yeah. And so and we knew long term that was a place that we could probably go and stay for a while, that he was going to be able to find something to kind of get back into the coaching world. So it
Hmm.
ended up, and like I said, a year later, he ended up getting a Division 3 head coaching job within 45 minutes. So it worked out great. And I'm really thankful for the opportunity to have worked with Lindsay as well.
So I know. I don't know Lindsay Whalen from the next person to the next person, but she seems like a very, very honest person. How was it working for her? And do you have any stories of like, into, things that you could share? Because I know she could be very intense. I've seen her playing. And so what was that? What was more of that like?
No, I think the awesome thing about Lindsay is that she is so people oriented. I think in this business and in college coaching of any sport, really, it's not just women's basketball. You learn from the people that you've worked for. And it can be really, really good things, or it can be really bad habits. You're at
Hmm.
the mercy from learning from the people in front of you. And so she didn't have, I mean, while she was still learning how to be a coach, she didn't have bad habits of being a boss of, oh, this is how so and so did it, this is how I have to do it, and that's not how it has to go. And so she was very um you know I would say modern in her leadership as far as we don't have to be in the office 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. If you can do your work and then we meet at a certain time, then that's what we do and do what's effective. And so um, she was very like, in tune to her staff. She listened to
Hmm.
her staff. She made us feel valued. And I joke, but I'm not joking. And I don't think I would have been a very good head coach now had I not worked for her because I knew what it felt like working for her, like how much it mattered that our staff had chemistry, that we trusted each other, that we felt valued as people. And it made my day to day.
Hmm.
I loved going to work. I enjoyed being around the people I was with. And so I wanted to be able to create that atmosphere as a head coach. And so I'm forever grateful for her to that. And she just was fun. She had fun. That sounds kind of simple, but my dad always joked when she was a player, she was like the player coach that always enjoyed the road trips. She would enjoy the airport. She would enjoy the buses. And she had fun with it. And she was the same way as a head coach that we were gonna have fun whatever we did. We were gonna laugh.
Hmm.
We were gonna enjoy, we were gonna go have coffee in the morning. Whatever it was, there was gonna be relationships involved. Excuse me. So she really instilled that in me of the importance of enjoying who you do it with.
Right. And now that we ain't got to dive too much into it, but I just know as being as in it, we've seen in other sports, being a great player is hard to coach. It's hard for that person to coach. So you saying all that, it doesn't surprise me, but some people out there it's going to surprise, like because we hear stories of players that come back to coach and it doesn't really work for them. But you saying her being modern, it definitely I can see how it has shaped your coaching style and
Mhm.
everything. But now we can move on to where you at now. You get an opportunity to go back to Connecticut. What was that opportunity like, and how did that come about?
Yeah, I mean, I just finished year 4 at Minnesota. We were, like I said, we were still having a blast, but um, when my agent had called me about this as an opportunity, it was closer to my family. They were all in the DMV at the time, and I obviously was familiar with Connecticut. My high school friends all joke with me. They thought I'd never come back to the East Coast because I'm such a Midwesterner. Like I am a
Mm,
Midwesterner at my core. But there was just so many things that kept kind of checking the boxes. The more conversations that I had and Zooms that I had, the campus interview was there's just so many things that stuck out to me. I'm like, this could be a really special place. Yeah, huge credit to my athletic director Paul Schlickman, his deputy AD Zach Dayton. Those two were really the two that I had the majority of my conversations with, and it just stuck out to me how aspirational they were. Like they
mm,
weren't just trying to be a mid-major that was successful in the MAC. Like they wanted to make this a big time place. They were building a brand new basketball arena. It's a very basketball centric place and conference, and a place where if you look at the history of the league on the women's side, Quinnipiac and Marist had both made Sweet 16 runs, and so it's a place
mm.
that that had a history of setting you up for success not just in your league but nationally. There was a lot of things that I thought were kind of coming together at the right time. And I like every place you interview with, every school you talk to, they want you to win, but not everybody is willing to give you what you need to win. And that was very clear to me that they were willing to do that here.
First time ranked in school history. You guys go to 25 in the nation. What was it like when you guys looked up at that screen and said, "Oh my gosh, we are 25"?
I said finally. I mean, no, we joke because that year we had like kind of a social media campaign. Shout out to Ivy and our sports information crew because they kind of put together like a resume of like why we deserve to be ranked. But there was, week after week after week, we've been kind of receiving votes, but we'd beaten teams. We had, been really consistent. At that point, we'd won, I think, 26
Hmm.
games in a row by the time we finally got ranked. Um, and so it was kind of like yeah, we've been knowing, but it was an awesome moment for our program, for the university. I think we had like an ESPN spot talking about our winning streak at that time. So it was a really cool moment for not only us, but our just Fairfield as a whole, who is just, booming right now academically, on the academic scene as well as the athletic scene, that it's like, yeah, we're here, or you guys are gonna know who Fairfield are from here, going from here on out.
Right. So I just want to name off a couple of things that you've done in your time there. You've had a 31 game winning streak before. You've beaten the SEC school before. You have had all 8 all MAAC conference players. three first teams. What is how do you do it? Like, what is it about you that is just like, this formula here is going to work, and this is the formula that we're gonna work towards. And what is about your formula?
Well, I think again, I go back to the leadership that we have that allows us the investment that they give us to be able to have what we need to be successful. But then we're really strategic about our identity, and what you need at a quote unquote mid-major level to be able to go and beat Power Four. So you mentioned the SEC, but we've beaten all Power Four conferences except the Big 12. We lost by two
Hmm.
at Oklahoma State last year, so they're still on my, the Big 12 is still on my list. But um, so we've been strategic about how we've recruited, who fits the way that we want to play. We play a free-flowing kind of five-out system. But then I think especially in today's day and age, our biggest competitive advantage is our retention. Our women love going to school at Fairfield. They love their experience. They love their teammates, and they stay. And so I think there's a real competitive advantage right now of chemistry and continuity on your roster, and we've been able to achieve that, and also every year bring in really good four-year kids that are freshmen, and then fill in needs in the transfer portal. And we don't rely on a whole new wave of transfer portal every year, but we get some really good pieces from that to fill some holes. So we don't have to recruit a whole new team every year. We have a lot of carryover.
Yeah, you said something there because we can talk till the cows come home about transfer portal, and I'm not gonna get into it right now. I don't want to. It's been very talked about on this podcast, the transfer portal. But um, what is it about the bringing that New England, that speaking up for New England, getting some kids from New England? What is that like? Because you're bringing it back. You're helping us, get on the scene, get on the map as far as New England.
Yeah. Well, I'll touch on, I mean, all of Connecticut women's basketball is great because Quinnipiac, we've had some battles, like I mentioned, they've
Hmm.
had runs. Before Sacred Heart moved into the MAC, they'd won the NEC
Hmm.
a couple years in a row. And obviously UConn's here, but for us, we are able to recruit from anywhere, which is great because our proximity to New York, we are like 45 minutes to an hour from New York City. So we have some international recruiting. We've got some that are not necessarily right down the road, but we do have a core chunk of our team from Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey, and it's a place that it's easy for their families to come see and play. But the thing for us is that we'll recruit from anywhere, but you just have to be a great fit for us, and that includes how we play. We joke we're shooters. We shoot the three. Everybody on the floor can score for us. But you also have to be a great teammate. And we are very willing to pass on someone who can play for us, might even be, significantly above our level, if you will. I hate that kind of the level concept, but I don't care if you're a top 100 kid. If you're not a great teammate, if you're not selfless, if you're not willing to play the way that we play, where the ball moves, it's not about you, it's not about your stats, then you won't fit here. And that's part of why we're able to have that retention is we're very careful about who we bring and who wants to be a part of something, who wants to win more than they care about themselves. And so that, again, credit to our women. They are so bought into that. They're awesome human beings and they make it really fun to coach them every day. And that's why I think they love being around each other because they're all equally yoked. They all have similar values. While they're not all the same, but they value kind of that winning culture first.
For three-time Coach of the Year for three different awards, Coach of the Year. You was mid-major Coach of the Year finalist last year or a few years ago. I'm sorry. Um,
Mhm.
that 11-year-old girl that when she finally walked into, my dad is now the Connecticut Sun. What would you say to that girl looking up and being have all this accolades and success? What would you say to that little girl?
Um, I don't, it's funny. I don't know that I would tell her anything different other than I like enjoy what you're doing. I really enjoyed being in the gym. I really enjoyed shooting with my dad. I enjoyed rebounding for the players. I enjoyed watching them work. I don't think I would do anything, tell me anything different. I just think I would say stay in the moment because I learned so much. I probably would say pay even more attention because there's so much that I missed that it took me trial and error to figure some things out that I probably could have learned by just watching even more closely at that age. But I truly do feel like I just lived in that moment, and it's what grew my love for the game. I think if anything, I would say, keep doubling down on relationships because wins and losses are a byproduct of the people and who you do it with and how you go about it. And so those people, like you said, it's all full circle, pop up back in your life in unexpected places. In this basketball world is really, really small. So keep your people close.
And I'm glad you say staying in the moment because not too long ago you just signed an extension at your school. What was that like to know that they believe in me enough to keep me here for the next 6 years?
Mhm. It was awesome. And so I actually, full disclosure, I signed two extensions, one the year before, and it's not always
Mhm.
common to sign another one the next year, but I think on both sides, both our administration as well as myself and my husband, as we felt really strongly that we wanted to make a statement that this is only the beginning of what we're doing. We get asked by recruits all the time of when you're gonna are you going to be there to coach my daughter? Are you going to be there in 5 years when she's, in her junior or senior year? And on the flip side, our administration, I huge credit to them is they double down on their investment in women's basketball. And so it kind of together is a powerful statement that like, no, we're just getting started and this is not the pinnacle of our success and we've got more to do. And so it was a really, really cool moment. And like I fully believe that we've got more to do.
And that's something that I'm so glad you said that because there's so many people that have had success like you, or not even as much success as you, that are looking up to that next level. Like, this is a stepping stone, this is this. But you being from Connecticut, well, not from Connecticut, but growing up in Connecticut, I think that gives you, I think, I'm gonna speak for you. That gives her some little bit of, I'm gonna be here a while. This is my area. I'm familiar with this. So she's not saying it, but I'm gonna say it for her. She's there for the long run.
Yeah, I mean, you hear at the kind of the age-old term, like don't mess with happy. We
Hmm.
love what we're doing. One of my personal values is joy, and you like choosing your joy. And like this place makes me just unbelievably happy every day. I love what I get to do every day, and there's really not a price tag on what that means. And so we get to wake up and be around people that we love and do some pretty, meaningful work here, and be about the things that are important to us, and put people first. So why mess with happy, you know?
Right. Now, and here's the next part of the what I usually do is I usually ask 3 to 5 questions of things I found interesting online.
Okay.
Um, so the first thing I have for you is explain the term for the people. What does yeah but mean? You grew up hearing it. Yeah, but.
Uh, so I don't know if this is something that you've researched or something about my dad and I. Was it the butt dad?
Your mom. I actually I wrote a quote that your mom said it.
Okay, so yeah, I'm stubborn, and my dad would coach me, and I would always say something like, "Yeah, but." My dad's like, "I don't need the but," and so he would just want me to listen. And we joke now. I joke with our players of like, listen to understand. And so my dad used to say like, "I'm not a butt dad," because I would say like, "But dad," like I'm not a butt dad. So I was a little bit. It's probably revolving around my stubbornness.
And so your mom was very influential in all of this. You spoke about your dad a lot. What was it? What was your mom's role, and how was she shaping who you are now?
She's as much, if not bigger, than anybody else in my family because I was just having this conversation with someone the other day that she was a nurse, so she was not in the coaching world in the same way. But she was able to work wherever we were going, and she always made every move that we made when we were younger fun. She never
Hmm.
made it seem like we had this crazy, ridiculous life where my dad was gone a bunch or we moved all over the place. Every move was a new adventure. And I never knew, and really until my adult life, that what we did was out of the ordinary. And that's a huge credit to her to make it very normal, to make it exciting, to make it fun. And she's someone that I'm not on her level of her ability to like talk to anybody, meet anybody. Like, she is an unbelievable social skills, unlike anybody I know. But I'm grateful for her that I now can really kind of meet people where they're at, talk with anybody, anywhere. She was great at that. So yeah, I think those two things that she made our life normal, even though it was very not normal.
Now I know I said this is the things online that I found interesting. The trophies behind you. Can you explain that? Like, this is the like I've done this. I've done about 20 interviews so far in this podcast. I've never seen somebody with that kind of that hardware like that. Can you explain a little bit of that?
Yeah, so this is what was one of our this is our first championship, my
Mhm.
second year. That was the MAC championship trophy. We talked about the SB already. Some of those are
Mhm.
some just kind of the tickets from our Final Four games, some of the hats from the Final Four years. Our team, that was last year's team when we won the championship. I've got another kind of trophy over there from last year. Some of our MAC regular season trophies are over there. So yeah, I mean it's a little bit I think it's a little weird because I'm like I don't need to be showing all this off, but we have recruits come into the office
I know that's
and
right.
things. Shout out to our man Bill Egan. He was a huge supporter of Fairfield and of women's basketball and basketball in general at Fairfield. So I always have him with me. He just passed recently, but he's always with me in my office.
I know that's right. So, I, what keeps you going, Coach? Honestly, because there's a lot that you've done in your career, amazing things, all the accolades and stuff. What keeps you going and keeps you motivated?
Our women, the girls on the team, the people that I'm with every day. I love basketball, and anyone will tell you I love being in the gym. I was a gym rat as a player. I'll go and rebound for and work out with any of our girls to this day whenever they want. But really, basketball is a vehicle to teach life and help women thrive. And so I get to wake up every day and help our women become the better version of themselves, figure out who they are, build confidence, be ready to thrive on whatever it is, whether it's playing after college, whether it's going to get a job, whether it's going to be a nurse. I just get to be a part of some really cool formative years of becoming women, and so that gets me up.
What was it like winning the ESPYs?
I didn't get to go actually,
Okay.
so I think at the time we got to send like five or six players and Coach Schaefer, and so yeah, I got the replica.
Vic Schaefer, man. Tell you what, I love that guy. So
Yeah,
what?
they're doing some amazing things.
Yeah, and I don't want you to dive too much into it, but what was because for some a Longhorn fan, what was it like for Vic Schaefer? And I purposely saved this for the end because I was going to talk about it during your time with him, but I wanted to save this for the end.
Repeat the question?
What was it like? Just not just coaching with him, just like what was it just like personally? Because I know you spoke on Wednesday Well and she liked having the closeness of it. But what was Vic Schaefer like?
He was so gracious, wonderful, but he was really intense and he was very thorough. And I'm really thankful for learning um, I think one of the most basic things that often gets overlooked is he's one of the best I've ever seen at teaching habits, teaching the things and like repeating, repping, drilling every day, the things that you're going to see the most, closeouts, footwork, help rotations you know, he was a denial team. We're not a denial team, but like though the core foundation of what we did, he taught those habits every single day, and I think that really made an impact on me. And that was the same, whether it was basketball or off the court, those habits were really important to him. And so, and being really consistent. And so I think that's something, especially teaching young people of how to be consistent, how to form really important habits to help you be successful. And the way that you do that, like the footwork can be different, the angles can be different, the closeouts can be different, but being really consistent day in and day out was a huge reason of why he's successful and one of the major things I took from him. So I'm really thankful to have worked for him. He's one of the best for a reason, and I hope he can go get another Natty champ for
Please,
you and your Longhorns.
please, please, I'm begging. But this
And
is
it was
another.
cool too. He coached his daughter, and so I got to coach
Hmm.
Blair when I was there. And again, everything for me, like I said, in basketball ties back to family. So it was really cool to see him kind of integrate basketball in his family into his basketball world as well, and kind of bleed one and the same as it had my whole life.
I hope you guys meet in the championship. I can't tell you who I'm a root for. I don't want to say it in front of you. No disrespect, but I'm just joking. I'm
We'll have
just
that
talking. Though.
conversation.
I'm just talking. So I really have two last things for you. It's been a fantastic interview. You coaching, director of recruiting, player. Um, what is the moment or the shot that sticks with you the most?
Hmm. Uh, well, there's a couple of obvious ones, like the Morgan Williams shot to beat UConn.
Hmm.
That was unbelievable. We snapped UConn's 111 game win streak. on that shot to go to the national championship. I wasn't with them the year before, but that team had lost to UConn by 62 in the Sweet 16 the year before.
Mm-mm.
So it's kind of a pretty, I mean, it was just unbelievable. We had thousands and thousands of fans greet us in the hotel afterward. It was unlike anything I'd seen from a viral perspective. But I think more personally, we had a really cool moment 2 years ago. So we were in the championship game in the MAC, and we had we just didn't play well to start the game. We were playing Niagara. We'd beaten them by like 30 at their place, 30 at home, and then we were really struggling against them in the championship. One of our point guards got in foul trouble early.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and so one of our graduate transfers, she was a graduate senior, Nicole Gallagher, was a really good shooter at Bryant before she came to us. She had a shot to beat Vanderbilt early in the year, had missed it, and you knew that really ate at her. She struggled to shoot the ball throughout the year, even though she's a really good shooter. But I was so proud of her because she found so many other ways to help us win. I started her all year long because she defended, she was in the right spots, she moved the ball, she cut, she rebounded, she did all these other things and was a great kind of epitome of what it means to be a teammate here is that who cares if your shot doesn't go in, you can help your team win in other ways. And so in that championship game, we went into overtime, and then she hit a huge corner three to basically like seal it. And it was kind of just a really cool personal moment for that team and our program because it really epitomized her staying in the fight, her still like her being about her teammates all year long, paid off down the road. The way that they celebrated each other, that team winning a championship, that was by far and away like the most fun team I've ever coached. They loved each other. We had like zero drama all year long. It was kind of a cap off of a really awesome team, and an awesome moment and a cool story for Nicole.
I know that's right. I know that's right. Shout out to Nicole. We're gonna try to find that clip and we're gonna try to post it.
Yes. Oh, it's awesome.
So, and the last thing I have for you is I need a coach quote. I need a Coach Carley's quote.
Hmm. A Coach Carley quote. Um, a couple of things that are a little bit like I say choose your joy all the time. And be where your feet are. Those are kind of two kind of fundamental life things for me of being in the moment. You get to choose what that looks like and feels like for you. Not kind of being at the whim of everything else happening in the world and kind of deciding your own destiny, not your own future. But from a basketball perspective, and it's life too, but we just talk about like how you do anything is how you do everything. And so that's if our women learn nothing else from me is like be the same hard worker all the time. If you go to the grocery store, it's like a really simple example. Put your grocery cart away. Like do the right thing all the time. And that's how I tried to live my life. I'm not perfect, but I hope I can impart just a little bit of that on our women.
I know that's right. This has been another fantastic interview of Fast Break Focus. Is there anybody you want to shout out before we end the podcast? Any
I'll shout
plugs
out
you
my
want to throw
staff.
in?
Yeah, I'll shout out my staff. We talked about them a little bit, but I have a staff that's been together 4 years, going on 4 years now. We already talked about Blake, but Eric Johnson, Erica Brown, Alex McKinnon, and our graduate assistant, Dom Lewis, they are fantastic. They make me look better than I am, to be honest. They catch things, they see things that I don't see. They're unbelievable leaders as well. And so it's a group effort, and I couldn't do it without them.
I know that's right. Thank you so much, Coach, for jumping on the podcast. This has been another fantastic episode, like I said. Be on the lookout for this episode. Hold on one second. I'm going to send you a final version probably around the 22nd, and then this one's going to drop probably the 26th.
Okay, cool.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Okay.
great.
Thank you so much for jumping on, and this is another fantastic episode. Thank you guys for watching, and we appreciate everybody.